What's going on, football fans? It's your host, Bad Takes, with Bad Takes in Football, back with another video for you. Gonna dive into the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus Detroit Lions game last night, but before I do that, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'm on my road to my first 100 subscribers. We're building an awesome community here of football fans, so please join in. We're gonna have a lot of fun here. Also, make sure to like and comment on this video. Tell me what you think of last night's game. Which one of these teams are going to be the champion coming out of the NFC? Personally, for me, I do think this is going to be a rematch coming up in the NFC Championship. Let's dive into today's video. Last night, the Detroit Lions took care of business and beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home 24-9. Now, that doesn't tell the whole story. What I saw in last night's game was a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that really struggled because Baker Mayfield was pretty inaccurate with his passes last night. Baker Mayfield was 28 of 50. He threw for 228 yards and had one touchdown and another interception. Now, when I was watching this game, it was obvious to me that he was having trouble placing the ball. He was constantly overthrowing his wide receivers, which led to them getting stuck on drives and having to punt the ball or have to go for it on a fourth down play. That was not the recipe for success for them. Another big issue happened for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mike Evans, their star receiver, went down with a broken collarbone. Now on the Detroit Lions side, you have to hand your flowers to Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs carried the ball 17 times for 136 yards. He added 2 touchdowns on the ground while catching the ball 3 times for another 82 yards. That is an amazing game out of him. Luckily, he had that game because David Montgomery, his duo in the backfield, didn't necessarily have the best game of his career. David Montgomery carried the ball 13 times for 21 yards yesterday. Something that I found to be amazing were the amount of injuries that the Detroit Lions have in their secondary, and seeing players like Rocky Oseen and Arthur Millette come up really big in this game. Rocky Oseen and Arthur Millette both had hamstring issues or cramping issues. Arthur Millette was able to come back and probably made one of the biggest plays he could have made on the defensive side in order to stop the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from making it a one-score game. This Detroit Lions team is tied now with the Buccaneers at 5-2, and you have to wonder which one of these teams is really the true superior. If this was on an even playing field, if this was played on a neutral site, who would win this game? I'm not really sure. To be honest, when I watched this game, I really think the Buccaneers would have made this a closer game if it wasn't for the fact that Baker Mayfield was inaccurate, which really hasn't been the case for him all year. You could tell that it was bothering him, and again, he was just throwing it a little bit over his receivers. The play where Mike Evans got injured, he threw it a little bit too far over his heads, and Mike Evans dove for it, and he almost came up with the ball, but again, he broke his collarbone on that play. Both teams in this game had 4 sacks apiece, so both of them were getting success in the pass rush, and both of these quarterbacks, in my opinion, handled it pretty well. Generally, you see a lot more mistakes when it comes to having sacks, but really, again, both quarterbacks had 1 interception in this game, and I don't think either one of those were purely because they were being pressed. Both of these teams have a viable chance of being that NFC team coming out in the Super Bowl. I think this, again, is going to be a rematch of what happens in the NFC Championship. I would not be surprised to see both of those teams there in late January. The Lions, they just have so many weapons on the offensive side. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, generally one of those running backs goes off, and then Amon-Ra St. Brown had a huge role in yesterday's game. Amon-Ra had 6 catches for 86 yards and a touchdown yesterday. Again, it was a 24-9 game, but the game played a lot closer than that. Emeka Egbuka was one of those players that really struggled in yesterday's game. He's had probably one of the best years of any receiver, especially rookie receivers. Emeka Egbuka was targeted 12 times and he had 4 catches in yesterday's game. Again, not all of those were his fault. A lot of times, Baker Mayfield was throwing it over his head, and he wasn't really able to make a play on those balls. Tez Johnson continued to look like a really good rookie as well. He had 4 catches for 58 yards and 1 touchdown. Again, they're really going to need Emeka Egbuka and as well as Tez Johnson to really show up, especially with the fact that they are not going to be with Mike Evans for a long time. Chris Godwin was also out. I'm not really sure how much longer he's not going to be available, but again, these rookie receivers are going to have to play a really big role for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team if they want to continue on the playoff run that they have. They also need a lot of work in their run game. Rashad Wright had 10 carries for 38 yards yesterday. That's just not going to be enough. You need to have this run game be a lot more efficient in order to open up things for the pass game. I think right now a lot of teams are just expecting Baker Mayfield to sling the ball down the field everywhere. And when you have situations like yesterday where he's just not quite having that connection, that's when you see this Tampa Bay team struggle. I think that they're going to bounce back from this, but I also think the Detroit Lions are going to use this game and use this momentum to go on another hot streak. I expect both of these teams, again, to be in the NFC Championship at the end of this year. I'm really excited to see what that matchup would look like again. What do you think of last night's game? Which team do you think is more superior? Do you think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or the Detroit Lions are more prepared to be a Super Bowl team? That's it for me today. I appreciate your time. Thank you again for watching. This is Bad Takes with Bad Takes in Football, signing out.